Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
I'm not going to say it's a gloomy day, a Clinkscale-esque day. You know how glass is always like 3/4 empty with Danny Clinkscale, but like when you're considering turning the lights on at 3, because it's so gloomy, I think we've reached a new low in gloominess. Doesn't got me down, though. I'll say that much. Not when you get a chance to talk to the great Danny Clinkscale from DannyClinkscale.com. He's brought to you by Easton Roofing Estimates. They're always free, and suggestions are built on integrity. Let Easton Roofing educate you about every possible roofing solution for your home or business. It's not about Easton Roofing. It's about your specific roofing need. Easton Roofing is an Angie's List Super Service Award winner. Call Easton Roofing right now at 913-257-5426 or visit them online at eastonroofing.com. Get back to business faster with the guys who got me back to business. That's Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing, integrity matters. Danny, my friend, how are you?
I am doing just fine. Soren, how are you?
Living the dream.
Yeah, it is. I found in 2020, especially when you've had a couple of nice sunny days, the gloomy day is more depressing. You appreciate the sunshine more, I believe.
If we'd had this for a week straight, this wouldn't have been a big deal. But after the last days, it's kind of is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well,
I get it.
No. If it goes on for 5 days in a row, I'm not going to feel great about it. But it's the difference, the juxtaposition between a beautiful sunshiny day and a gloomy day, to me, is much more noticeable during times of woe, which I would say that much of 2020 has been.
I'm not going to say I've got like 1,000 things written down because I find that our discussions kind of just take off and go, so I don't need 40 different little topics written down. But I do always have a handful of things, and we never come out of the gates with them. Never.
Then don't ask me how I'm doing. That's probably the best solution.
That's usually where we get off.
If I'm doing well, then I'll probably go off on one tangent. And if actually today's been a great day, very busy. Did some real good business. A lot of fun things going on the website today, including a great profile of Matt Tate of the Lawrence Journal-World. Fascinating story with him. So, really cool childhood that maybe a lot of people would envy, but would never have experienced. A very cool thing.
Okay, interesting. Wow, I'll have to check that out. DannyClinkscale.com for folks out there. No, but to your point, so about the gloomy days. And the other thing is then, like, you actually elicit a response from me. You actually suck me into whatever,
vortex
spiel you have. Yeah, right? You're like a black hole. I just can't get away. But don't you think the sunny days are going to be that much better?
Yes.
Where we've got this in the rearview mirror, like we're going to have a new perspective. I mentioned my great aunt who lived to be 101 years old. She passed away. I think my daughter was 1 or so, or maybe a little less than 1. So it would have been 14 years ago. She lived through the Great Depression.
Right.
And, I was 40 years old, and for my birthday, she was giving me $5. Right? Which, it always warmed my heart. Like when I was like 21 and in college, I was like, $5. Yeah, thanks for the effort, Aunt Dorothy. Like, seriously, what am I going to do with this? But when I was 40 and she was still giving me $5, I knew what $5 meant to her.
Right.
Right. Like I figured out that like this is where she drove mules on a wagon at the family farm in Newton, Kansas. Right, when she was a little girl, and lived through the Depression, and God bless her. Every nickel, she knew where it was, right? Because she had been through those tough times where they weren't sure where they were going to get a meal. And I know no one wants to hear it now, right? But I do want to believe that we're all going to be, most of us, I hope, will be better people for having gone through this, right? And so we'll appreciate the sunny days. You'll appreciate just sitting around, having a couple of Coronas, even if Danny's in a pissy mood. Because you know what? We couldn't do it for a year right? So I am optimistic that there'll be some appreciation for some of the more subtle things in life that really should be valued more that maybe we took for granted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I cannot tell you how, my poor wife has gone through hell this year and continues to do so on multiple levels. But anyway, we want, so I can't tell you how much she is dying to be on a beach somewhere. and soon, right before, right after she just got over breaking her ankle, we went away and just to like Nebraska City, Nebraska for the weekend, and she got to hiking and everything, and now she's got another issue. So I can't wait to just do a simple thing like lay on the beach, or be able to even go to Nebraska City again, that type of thing. So I think we will appreciate those things a little bit more, and especially after maybe especially after the next few weeks, because before we get to the other side, which now with the vaccines being released, and it seems like we're a little bit closer than we might have thought a few months ago, we still are going to go through some bad tidings here in these winter months. So I think we will appreciate it even more.
All right, well, we'll give people a release from that. We'll talk a little sports here with Danny Clinkscale from DannyClinkscale.com. But then just a little moral lesson for everybody out there. Give it some thought. Appreciate the little things.
I've got a quick depression story for you.
Okay.
My dad is a product.
Wait a minute. That's not exactly like a.
No, this is funny. This is funny. Okay. He's a product of the depression. So. When one of the last times I was home, a couple of years ago, he was starting to wear crappy clothes all the time, and he'd wear them, and I'm like, I'm going to buy him one of those goofball, down in Miami playing shuffleboard tennis jumpsuits, one of those things, sweatsuits, a matching sweatsuit, because he'll wear it. He'll wear the damn thing. I know it. So we go into this store that's I can't remember the name of it. It's a chain in New England, but we don't have it out here. It's the equivalent of Bradley's. Do Bradley's out here?
I don't
Maybe
think
it is Bradley's.
No.
It's sort of a, real bargain basement clothing store.
Called Aardvark.
Marshalls.
It's like
Marshalls.
Like Marshalls. Maybe not even quite up to to Marshalls level. So we walk in there, and I find what I was looking for, kind of, sort of. And I said, "Hey, Dad, would you like one of these? Would this work for you?" And he's looking through the rack, and he looks at the price tag, and the damn thing costs $19. Okay, $19 for a top and a sweat top and a sweat bottom, pretty nice, like Puma or something. He goes,
right.
He goes, "Wow, these prices," and what he meant was they were high. I'm sitting there going, "Oh, damn! I thought I was going to have to drop $40 for this, and he thought he was getting ripped off." So anyway, there you go.
With Bob
awesome.
Clinkscale.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, we had Ross Tucker on, and so the guy who is the PR guy for the Army-Navy game is a good friend of mine, Jimmy Shapiro. And he so I'm texting with him. I told him what I told Ross Tucker to do. If you didn't hear it, Danny, I told Ross Tucker. He's going on with my buddy Steve Cofield in Vegas right after us. And I said, "Hey, mess with them." He said, "Well, okay." I wasn't sure he was going to do it. He's like, "Well, you're really good friends with him." And I was thinking about it afterwards. Like, I should have mentioned, he was in my wedding. That's how good of friends we are. And so Jimmy says, "Yeah, he just blanked with Steve." I listened. I said to him, "Are you really into this interview, Steve? The guy before you, Soren Petro, was so much better and more prepared than you."
Oh, that's great. It's so cool that he did it. That's fantastic. Ross Tucker just went up a notch.
That's funny.
I
like Ross Tucker
happier.
anyway. I think he's a good announcer, but I like him even more now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to have to get him. We're going to get him some Joes. Let's send him some Joes. Jed, make a note of that. I'll get his info from Jimmy, and we'll send him some Joe's Kansas City barbecue for that. That's just fantastic. I am the happiest. I want to just drop the mic and go grab a Corona right now. I'm so happy.
Cofield being the way he is,
and Cofield, who might be, he and I are in a. I think he's got me. I think he's got me beat for Dower.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
he is. Yeah. You're talking about a guy who went to Rutgers and roots for the Jets. I mean, there's not a lot to like in his life.
I mean, like if
although Rutgers is kind of coming around here, but
he's kind of the center of right, sure, great. That's basically his life.
Right. If you just first meet him, you just think, boy, this guy's a jerk. But then you get to know him, and he's really a good guy. But you can't tell at first.
There's a Richard Belzer quality to Cofield.
Exactly. Robert.
Cofield talking to Danny is dueling banjos. Though. I'll say that on YouTube going out and about. What did you make, though? All right, now to move forward.
Yes.
What did you make of Ross's statement about Mahomes? That the announcers just slobber all over him.
Well, I think this is the equivalent of Madison Bumgarner in the World Series. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, he's great. Now, the thing is, you're doing a broadcast. You can't say that it just goes unsaid. They're usually doing it by trotting out a bunch of great statistics and facts and so on and so forth. So I think that's undoubtedly why we're going to get some Patrick Mahomes fatigue around the country. Probably already started to do that. But there's every reason to slobber over. It's not like they're slobbering over, Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's the best. So maybe Chiefs fans who are Royals fans should sort of appreciate a little bit more what was going on with Madison Bumgarner.
Because he now plays for you. Patrick Mahomes' career has been the 2014 postseason.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. And it's like there's that element of like when it's like your kid, like your parents are always like, oh, little Jimmy made a poo, like, all right, settle down. Right. I mean, it's we all do it.
Only your kids are cute.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
At the pool, running around, like, oh, look at them. They're so cute, jumping in and out of the pool, making noise the whole time, and everybody else is like, oh, shut those kids up, please.
With the 700 videos they send you of their kid doing nothing.
Right.
It's like,
this kid
I don't
drowns.
need this, okay? I got my own kids. I'm good.
Did you just say, I hope this kid drowns?
I did.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm just making sure that I was not the only one who caught that.
Yeah. Sitting at the pool and little Junior's doing his 800th, cannonball near you. And I'm like, just cut it out. Please. Maybe he just tripped. Maybe he just kind of trips on the ladder going by and sprains an ankle.
Just stub your pinky toe on a steel chair leg.
Exactly.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
You have some pain
so there is
today.
no reason for people to. I mean, it's hard to overdo it when it comes to Patrick Mahomes.
Well, I had to catch myself because I was going to start rattling off all these stats. I'm like, he had 100 touchdowns, and when he got to his 100th touchdown, what was it, Curtis? 19 INTs?
Yep.
19 INTs, which is, 15 better than second best?
15 lower
Aaron
than
Rodgers, who had 34. Rodgers broke the record of Drew Brees, fastest to 400 touchdowns. He broke it by 12 games, got there in 193 instead of 205. Right now, Mahomes is on pace to get there in 161, break that record by 32 games. He's 39-9, right?
Yeah, I almost think there isn't enough being made of him. Because I think the things he does is so beyond description. There's no historical precedent for it. I almost think his to this point his exploits have been undervalued, understated.
I won't go to war over that. No way. The only thing I will say is that he is doing this in the context of it being so tailored for a quarterback to succeed. But still, he can only play in the environment he's playing in, and he does have contemporaries who could do the same thing and aren't.
Right.
So,
I was on in Miami and a couple days ago, and one of the things they're like, well, the Chiefs, how did it all come together? I said, well, I'll tell you what. One thing that I think the blueprint that the Chiefs had that I don't think everybody's quite following. Everybody gets we got to go find our great quarterback, right? Everybody gets that. But what the Chiefs did, whether by design or by default, and I think it's probably mostly design with some kind of default, but they made sure that if this guy could be good, there's no way he won't be good here, right? They got the tackles in place, and they did this for Alex Smith as well, and I think they did it for Alex Smith because they knew that they needed every piece there. Not that Alex Smith's bad, because a bad quarterback, you bring in a turd to this team, and they will win 7 or 8 games. Right? I don't think they're a 4-win team.
Especially with some of the offensive line issues, for instance, they've had this year.
Yes. Yeah, bring in a guy who can't move his feet, can't throw off the run at all, right? Then, yes, you're going to have some problems. But, they made sure that they had the tackles in place. They already had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt, right? Like, you got to remember, he was here, and they went out and gave $48 million over 3 years to Sammy Watkins. Like, just an embarrassment of riches at the, for him
and to make sure also, because that was at the time Tyreek Hill maybe we thought might not be around. So they were going to make sure they had a potential star receiver. Now, thankfully, Tyreek Hill is around because Sammy Watkins has played about half the games. But
True.
They wanted to create that insurance policy.
Yes, absolutely. But they wanted to make sure that there were weapons for the kid. To me, what they set out to do was not win a Super Bowl. They set out to find and validate the find and finish off the development of a quarterback. They wanted to build a Super Bowl quarterback, and once they had that, then they could do whatever they needed to do to finish off the team, right? And they're not mutually exclusive, because a lot of the pieces that you put around to make sure that Mahomes can be all he can be are also things that will help you win a championship, right? So it wasn't like, first check, now let's go start this new task. They are kind of working hand in hand. But that's the one thing that, like, if you're the Dolphins, you have Tua, like, every pick should be on offense. And I guarantee you it won't be. They'll be thinking that the defense was part of what got them to this year's 11-5 record that they figure to be when it's all said and done, or maybe 10-6. And, the defense is good, and we got to make sure that defense is strong. And that's crap.
The only issue I'll say with that is that Brian Flores, he's a defensive coach, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also the early evidence that Tua's going to be a stud isn't really there. Now, I'm not saying he's not. I'm not giving up on the guy or anything, but he's not exactly flashing right off the top. So that would give you pause a little bit to say, "Oh, geez, am I going to draft all offensive players, and this guy may not even be that good?"
But you have no choice, in my opinion. You have no choice. Like, that's absolutely what the Dolphins should do. Remember, at the end of his first year, Patrick Mahomes had 0 touchdowns and 1 interception.
But what if Tua is Alex Smith or Alex Smith plus? Then you need a full, complete team. You've talked about it so many times before. But wait a minute, Danny. In 2017, they didn't have a full, complete team. The defense sucked in 17. They had Alex Smith, if he's Alex Smith, and they had all those weapons, and they went 11-5. That's true. That is true. Can't refute
I
that. But what you've said a lot is that if you're going to win a Super Bowl with somebody like Alex Smith, and I'm not saying that Tua is going to become Alex Smith. Heck, he might not even get to that level.
Exactly.
To win a title, you're going to have to surround him with a great football team. And maybe that is flashing around in Flores' head in the fact that, well, geez, we've played the guy 4 games or so now, and I don't know if I see it.
But the goal is to be a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a championship team, right, the best route is to have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
No question.
So you have to do everything you can to create that Hall of Fame quarterback first. Now, once you put all the weapons around him, if you're he's throwing for 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and he is Alex Smith, then you got your head on a swivel looking for the next guy you think might be a Hall of Fame quarterback. And in the meantime, yes, you beef up your team as much as possible. And the one thing you definitely don't do is throw $180 million at the guy for him to just be mediocre. Like, maybe the Rams are back, and maybe Jared Goff is going to prove to be not Mahomes, clearly, but maybe he's going to prove to be, I don't know. I mean, at least Flacco, for sure. He's already there. But, I'm trying to think of somebody who was a pretty – maybe listen, Troy Aikman, that was a different time where you could run and play defense more. But there's nothing special about Troy Aikman. I mean, if you want to say Joe Namath is the biggest fraud in the Hall of Fame, Troy Aikman's second. And I'd make you a case that because of the way the games were played during their eras, that actually the biggest fraud in the Hall of Fame is Troy Aikman. All right, when you go look at his numbers, go look at his wins and losses, It's not real impressive.
And he did have, and he was surrounded by Hall of Fame weaponry. Yeah.
And the
line
tight end.
And the passing part of the NFL had just begun. I mean, he played a lot of his career in the golden era. That started about 94, 95, when you started getting 4,000-yard passers was pretty common. He didn't take advantage of any of that.
No, but so, the point being, it ultimately now the game is offensive, right? That's what it is. And so you've got to build that offense around the quarterback. You've got to develop a quarterback and go, right? That's the bottom line of what you have to do. And I don't think teams will sell out to that. And I don't think the Chiefs sold out to it, but it's where they got to. They got there. And I think now you should look at that and say, well, what was it that the Chiefs did? Yes, they made the move for the quarterback, but they also gave him everything to be successful immediately. His confidence was immediately sky high. And we'll see if the rest of the league, I don't think they will, and I think that's a good thing for the Chiefs. The Chiefs will remain ahead of them. Now, the Chiefs, I think, have to keep making sure that the offense is top five. I think that's the biggest key to being a successful team is a top five offense, and we'll see if they do that as they encounter some real cap challenges over the next couple of years. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing, your roof is high. They're workers. They're not. So if you've got residential or commercial roofing problems, Easton Roofing will fix them so you can get back to business. Get back to life faster. No payments collected. Until you're 100% satisfied, call Easton Roofing today at 913-257-5426. Schedule your free, honest estimate right now by going online to eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
All right, the Joe's Kansas City Barbecue burnt end of the hour answer. Mizzou, Illinois, tomorrow in Columbia.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Who was Missouri's leading scorer the last time the bragging rights game was not played on a neutral court?
Ooh, wow. That's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has. It was at Assembly Hall, which is the same place they played. They have a sponsor now.
I was reaching way back, and I was going to just go with last week's Kansas City profile, John Sunvold. But it's further back than that, obviously.
I think he might have been there.
Really?
December 4th, 1979.
Yeah, that would have been his freshman year, I think. But he wouldn't have been the leading scorer.
Larry Drew. 25.
That was his freshman year.
Eddie Johnson, NBA-bound Eddie Johnson, countered with 22. Tigers won in OT 67-66. Someone asked me on Twitter today, when was the last time, because Georgia's playing there tomorrow too, I could find out the last time that a top 10 team in both basketball and football played road games in the same city on the same day. And I'm like, I don't know how you would possibly research that, but it can't be too common.
No, you would think not. Why don't you get right on that, Curtis?
I could eventually figure it out, but it would take till past the time that both those games are over, I think.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds like a real tough piece of research.
Yeah.
Joe's Kansas City Barbecue. You can send it anywhere like we're going to send to Ross Tucker, joeskc.com. Great time of year to be sending the gift of that wonderful barbecue, whether it's a Z-Man kit or any of their great meats. Send it anywhere anywhere in the United States, joeskc.com. And don't forget, gift cards this time of year are a great gift. The Joe's gift cards can be used at Joe's Kansas City Barbecue for barbecue, but also at the Kansas City Barbecue store, where you can get the grill, the sauces, the rubs, the utensils, everything you need to grill like a pro. The Kansas City Barbecue store has you covered at 119th and Strangline Road. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale. Danny, unleashed here in the program. Do the Chiefs finish 15-1?
Yeah, I'll lean. It's not a big lean, but I if I'm going to pick now, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to lean over that way. Right. But just barely. I think they might get tripped up by New Orleans because it looks like Drew Brees will be back.
And that's why it's important. That's why it'd be really important for the Bills to beat the Steelers in this game, because the Chiefs would still have the tiebreaker, because they would tie on conference record, and then it would go to record in common opponents, and the Chiefs would be undefeated, and the Steelers would have the one loss against the Bills.
Yeah, and this is, I think the Chiefs can win without being the number one seed, but it sure is a heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
Just the 3 games instead of 4. Forget, now the home field and all that's not.
Any other year, 1 versus 2 isn't as much. Now it's huge.
It's mitigated, even though the Chiefs will, I don't know, under the new guidelines, are they still going to have fans? I guess they are. So, there's some crowd there. There's some atmosphere for Kansas City. Better than most, but
I still think just the random chance of a really bad day that bites you. Like that, the Cowboys at the Niners in the 94 NFC Championship game where they, 49ers scored and then the Cowboys turned it over like on a kick return, and then their first play from scrimmage, and it was 21-0 Niners, and the Cowboys got it all the way back down to 10, I think, and But they just had such a horrible first quarter they couldn't dig out from it. Well, that's one less chance of that happening if you get the bye. To me, the bye is less about the home game and more about the just eliminating the possibility of a really crappy day.
I agree with that, and I think that the Chiefs are, we saw last year that is not replicable. I'm sorry, no matter how great Patrick Mahomes is and everything else. Falling on a hole in all your playoff games and digging out of it. I don't think they'll have the opportunity to do it ever again. Because I don't think they, first of all, if they fall behind and they might lose one of them, and then you don't get the opportunity again. But to do it every time in every playoff game you did, that's hoping for that to happen is hoping for a lot.
Oh, I would agree. Who's the team? This is the question I keep getting. Who's the team that's the toughest for them to deal with? Who gives them the most fits?
Even though they just get run off the field, I still think the Titans are a bad matchup for the Chiefs.
Well, they fought back against the Browns.
Right. Well, and Baker Mayfield fumbled a quarterback sneak to give him a real chance. But, yeah, they did fight back. So I still think with the kind of form Derrick Henry's in, the Chiefs have continually showed that they can't stop the run, and he's number one. You could see a 200-yard game, and that would be difficult to overcome. They haven't possessed the ball as well as they did last year, but I still think that's the worst matchup.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I can I can see that. I still think the Raiders just have some kind of bad mojo for them. I think it's their offensive line. And that is the one thing to be concerned about the Chiefs is, I think they're closer to 19 than they were 18. I think Mahomes is playing even better, so they're even tougher to keep off the board. But the lack of a pass rush does open the door to a route where we know that they're not going to be great stopping the run, although I don't think they're as bad as people think. We talked about it. 33 runs by the Broncos, and 24 of them went for 4 yards or less, right? And all but what was it, Curtis? They only had 2 that were over 12 yards, which is what Steve Spagnuolo defines as an explosive play. They gave up a 13 and a 65-yarder. Otherwise, there was a 9. There were a couple of 9s, and one of those was the quarterback. One was the wide out.
I think I counted 16 of the 33 rushes were 3 yards or fewer.
Yeah. So they were much more effective against the run than that final rushing statistic would tell you. But
every 3-yard gain for anybody else is 4 or 5 for Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And so we know that they're not going to, just blank somebody in the run. But if you're not getting any pass rush, then you can take an okay or a pretty good quarterback and make them look great.
Agreed. I totally agree with that. And so, you have to get efficient play from Ryan Tannehill, but he is capable of that. You're talking about the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs. So, but I do agree with the fact that they are a bad matchup for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I won't argue that. I don't know that they're going to make it either, which will be good for the Chiefs because I don't think they want to see them. I don't think they'd sweat them, and I don't think that the Raiders should be favored or anything like that. I just think it's kind of like, they've got a recipe that works pretty good against you. So, look out if you're there. What is the biggest need for the Chiefs come next year? And I ask this because it somewhat identifies where you're weakest right now.
If you can get it, a game wrecker linebacker.
See, I disagree.
All right.
I think they've got to find a defensive end, and they've got to find a wideout.
Well, what I'm talking about in a game wrecker linebacker is somebody who could rush the passer, too.
But out of a 4-3, that guy doesn't get that shot very often.
Well, if you're blitzed, he does, and Steve Spagnuolo shows every inclination to do that. So some guy who could be a heat-seeking missile in the pass game and still could stop the run, that would be what I think would be most valuable.
Derek Johnson? Give me an example of the player you're thinking of.
Well, maybe somebody sort of like, except he's a safety, sort of like Jamal Adams, maybe, but a bigger version of that.
Right.
I think Derek Johnson made explosive plays in the running game, but down to down, I don't think he was as physical as I'd be looking for. I take him, believe me. Give me Derek Johnson, I'm taking him. But I think a physical linebacker who can rush the passer in a blitz.
I think Willie Gay Jr. is that guy. And I think next year, after a full year and hopefully a normal off season, I think he'll blossom next year, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, because when he's out there, there's a different kind of athleticism. When he takes on a block, I mean, he puts a pop on offensive linemen. I think he is that guy. So that's one of the reasons why I don't think that's as necessary.
Valid. Although I think on the defensive side of the ball, usually guys who are going to be studs, because there's not as much to learn as in some other things, you can just play on your physical ability. Those guys seem to flash more than Willie Gay Jr. has so far this year.
He didn't play that many snaps.
Well, I know.
From the sideline.
I know, but if he was doing that and it was capable of doing that, he'd be playing more snaps.
Well, I was told by a couple of guys in the league that this guy's going to take a little time, and this is, not having the full camp is going to hurt this guy more than anybody else. And so I'm willing to wait till next year before I put any kind of long-term evaluation on Willie Gay Jr. I still think there's potential for stardom there with Willie Gay Jr. I just think that the reality is this, that Frank Clark is not a number one pass rusher, right? And I think Steve Spagnuolo did a great job of scheming him, and the combination of Chris Jones and him and some well-timed blitzes made this pass rush look better than it is, and I would shudder to think where they would be without Chris Jones right now. I can give you another path to where they could be better without Chris Jones, right? Keeping Ogba, drafting this guy, drafting that guy, all these different things. But Chris Jones has continued to play at a very high level. Frank Clark has not, and I think part of the reason is I think Frank Clark needs to be the wingman. Right, if DT's on the other side, like T.J. Watt is the man, Bud Dupree cleans up, and I know he's hurt, but like that, the Steelers were going to let him walk in free agency regardless because T.J. Watt's the guy.
Right,
Bud Dupree gets single, attention and coverage sacks. Like, oh, T.J. Watt flushed him, and then he flushed him right into Bud Dupree. Right. Well, Frank Clark is Bud Dupree, and I don't want to talk. I don't care about his contract. I mean, I do. But it is what it is. It's spent, as you've said.
Right.
There's no going back from it. So you've got to live with it. I think if they had a guy, and I don't like putting even more high-end resources into the defensive line because I think there are diminishing returns that come with that. But I think that's the one thing that's going to make them better. You can never have too many cover people, but they seem to be really good at finding bargain corners. But big people that can move from A to B with violent intensity and quickness, there's only a few of them on this planet. And I think they're going to have to find one of those guys in the draft. I think that, and then I think Sammy Watkins is going to be gone, and frankly probably should have been gone, because all the numbers about how much better they are with Sammy Watkins, I mean, we didn't see it really against the Broncos, did we? I mean, I think that's more kind of a fluke. I think he's a fine player, but I think it's just, you can't keep paying that kind of money. If he wants to come back for $4 or $5 million per year on a 3-year deal for 15, okay. But I think he'll get more than that someplace else. And so I think you've got to keep putting weapons out there to maximize the Patrick Mahomes ability.
Well, they showed that that's their mindset in the draft last year because they drafted a running back. So you may well be right.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a good thing. All right, we'll take a break and talk a little bit about the Royals jumping out into free agency with Danny Clinkscale. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. They are the best in the business when it comes to educating their clients about every possible solution to your roof. Yes, not always is there just one solution. Re-roof it. That might be what you've heard from other roofing companies. Easton Roofing takes the time to see, are there other options for you? And in these challenging times, that can be a big help. Credit cards are accepted. Financing is available as well. Joe Spiker and his team are ready for your call right now at 913-257-5426, serving the entire metro, including Lawrence and Topeka. Call 913-257-5426. See them online at eastonroofing.com. Let Easton Roofing get you back to life, get you back to business faster. Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. We're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
You're in the program here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Danny Unleashed with Danny Clinkscale. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Go to eastonroofing.com right now. Get your appointment set up, 913-257-5426. You can call Easton Roofing at that number, 913-257-5426. Angie's List Super Service Award winner. That's Easton Roofing. You can get a fast and easy free inspection and estimate right now. eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing, integrity matters. Danny, what do you think about the Royals jumping out there? Carlos Santana, Mike Minor, lesser degree Michael Taylor.
Latter two, underwhelming. I'm very excited about Carlos Santana. I think he has something left. I think guys who draw walks like him have a little shelf life. Didn't strike out any more than he usually does last year, on a per bat basis. So I don't think I'm not thinking he's lost anything at 34. His career year came the year before. He's always been streaky. You'll literally see him. I follow him in the box scores always. I like the guy. I'm a fan. And he'll go, all right, he's hitting 262. And then 2 weeks later, he's hitting 207. And then 2 weeks later, he's hitting 282. He's crazy streaky, so maybe he didn't have the opportunity to have one of his real hot streaks. But just to get a guy who actually will draw a walk, maybe it'll rub off on some people. That'd be nice. So
yes, I agree with that. And does it show that they're kind of going in a new direction?
I don't know. It sounds like it was a good opportunity for them. Michael Taylor certainly wouldn't give you any indication that this is some kind of a theme. He's walk averse as well. So I guess there's hope. I'm more hopeful that, it'll create sort of a little bit different attitude. Now, I don't think you can take a guy who just hates to walk and he's going to suddenly walk as he sees Carlos Santana up there. But one of the reasons Carlos Santana is effective is not just that he walks, is he gets himself into good hitters counts all the time.
Right.
And
he drives the ball.
Right, absolutely. So I'm very excited about that signing. The other two, Minor could probably chew up some innings. Taylor, I've almost he's only had one good season.
I have nothing on Taylor. Nothing.
Right.
For $1 million and change, fine. Take a flyer. That's okay. Add him to the outfield mix. Mike Minor's whip in 1.2 and change says to me he's not putting base runners on, which means ultimately that's how you have success. And so I think Minor is kind of like Santana in that standpoint. I think he was better than maybe some of those numbers look. But I do love the hypocrisy that you got nothing as far as Kendrys Morales, but you're all over Carlos Santana's streakiness. That makes me laugh. Danny, you're the man. Have a great weekend, buddy.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.